Hello and welcome to another Cloud Podcast, a podcast designed to bring you stories from the smartest minds in IT, operations, and business, and learn how they're using cloud technology to improve business and the customer experience. Hey, we are excited to be here on a Friday afternoon. We have a guest. His name is Brandon Smith from Human IT, VP of Business Development. Brandon, it is great to have you on this podcast. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Alex. Great to be here. Appreciate that.
And you're absolutely welcome. We're glad to have you here. Dustin, my co-host, how are you doing today? What's going on? What's new?
Rocking and rolling. Thrilled that it's Friday. Thrilled that we have a great person in Brandon, good longtime friend of mine for I wouldn't even know how long, 5 or 6 years, probably.
5 or 6, yeah.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID.
It's been a hot minute.
Pre-COVID friends.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah.
You guys go way back.
Yeah. Fun fact about Brandon is that we were doing Tuesday dinners at twice a month, even when for a good, maybe the past year and a half or 2 years. And when COVID was real rough, we were meeting in the park at night, eating pizza, hanging out, trying to get our social on. We're both extroverts.
We needed that human interaction.
We did.
But it was definitely sitting in the park in the dark with a pizza.
Yeah, it was incredible. While holding hands, maybe.
Hey, well, clearly
swings, yeah, totally.
You can tell we all know each other fairly well. We can banter and have fun. I've actually had the pleasure of meeting Brandon. Gosh, it must have been 6 or 7 years ago when Human IT was just in its infancy. You guys were in the heart of commerce up there in LA, and a small little warehouse. And some people are probably wondering, well, what do they have a small warehouse for? So what I'd like to do is, Brandon, why don't you give a 2-minute commercial on what Human IT is, what you guys do, and then Dustin and I are going to dig in and help share with the audience and find out from you, where are some areas where things are changing, how things are growing. But I'm going to let you take over and just give us that highlight of Human IT.
Yeah, happy to. So why we need a warehouse, right? So Human IT is a nonprofit. We're also a social enterprise. What we do is, simply put, is we take in the old or unwanted technology that businesses no longer need. It's from the consumer grade desktops, laptops, tablets, those types of things, to the enterprise grade, the servers, switches, phone systems, you name it. Rather than just grinding them up or flipping them for a quick buck, we'll bring them in, we'll wipe them, refurbish them, and even upgrade them, and then finally repurpose them out to provide digital access to remote students, low-income families, nonprofits, that type of thing. So we're allowed to help people gain access, typically for the first time, not just with devices themselves, but internet connections. We have digital literacy training courses, as well as both hardware and software support too, to really help whether it's a first-time user or somebody that's a little bit older, like a senior citizen or a veteran that needs access, or a student that just needs to do their homework over the last year during COVID. It's all about giving people that access, give them that opportunity to, what we say is actually giving it's equal opportunity, not equal outcome. So it's really great everybody needs a computer. You can imagine what it would have been like for anybody's kids over the last year to just hop on and do something as simple as your homework, let alone stay entertained. So, regrettably, 1 out of 5 students over the last year haven't had a computer. So we're in that fight for what's called the digital divide, and it's about getting devices out there. We're definitely producing a lot of e-waste. Over 150,000 computers are thrown out every single day. Meanwhile, there's 80 million Americans that don't have a computer. So it's not a supply and demand issue, it's just allocation. Let's give these things a second life. Let's not shred them and dump them overseas. We don't need to make a bunch of new stuff. Let's take the 3-year-old computer from a company, wipe it, refurbish it, take their assets that they need off their hands anyhow, and get it out to the people that need it.
Can you tell us those numbers again? How many people in the US don't have a computer?
Over 80 million lack either computer or internet access.
Wow. You guys...
320 million is 25%.
It's, and you need both, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we provide all parts of digital access. It's not enough to just hand someone a computer and say, good luck, and that was kind of that was a little bit the excuses or the reasoning we heard before, because it was go to your local library, go to your Starbucks, go to the school computer lab. Right. Well, those haven't been opened in 14 months. So you need that. You can't expect a third grader to hop on a city bus to their local library. That's just not a way to provide equal access as far as digital access. So get them the internet and the computer and the training and the tech support. Give everybody they need so that it doesn't become book weight. So it's not going on eBay or to the pawn shop. Let's really support people through these devices.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting, I can't believe 1 in 5 people don't have access. And then you think about that digital divide that you're talking about earlier and how hard it is in the inner city, in these low income families that might have 3 or 4 kids, and there might be one to go between the 3 or 4 of them. And COVID, I think, shined the biggest light on this issue this last year and a half coming up almost, on how disparate it is and how challenging it is. When you add on the internet access to that, how are you guys solving for the internet piece? We know you do, e-waste recycling, refurbish, and get them out there, but how are you partnering with different ISPs out there to get the access to the internet for these families?
That's exactly what we're doing, is partnering with the ISPs that really know the need the most. We'll partner. I think we've got relationships with Frontier, Verizon. We're talking to Sprint, speaking with AT&T, along with other folks just in the ISP, within the telecom world. We actually just announced a partnership with Broadvoice yesterday on Earth Day, which was pretty exciting. So awesome. It's really about working with the individual users or the groups and understanding their needs better. So if you have somebody in Whittier, for example, just let us know that they're looking for internet. Not every internet is made equal. So they might have different needs depending on how many people are in that household, how high speed do they need? And we'll actually walk them through that process to determine, where do you live? What needs do you have? We'll call on the phone with them or actually communicate via text as well to talk to that provider and make sure they're not being upsold, make sure they know exactly what they're getting into. Because if you call right now, they're going to sell you a house phone, right? They're going to sell you a house phone. They're going to sell you a cable package, and they're going to sell you internet. And if you're already low income, you just need that internet connection. You just want your kids to do homework. You just want to apply for jobs or build a resume or go back to school, or even just communicate during COVID, as we are right now, virtually. So the internet was absolutely vital. As soon as it was not, first we do devices and then we'll worry about internet later, it was one of the first things that HUMIT jumped on. You got to have both.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we found too is, like, when we first met, you guys were talking with some of the cable companies and really getting that piece out there. As far as the partnerships go with the ISPs, how does it look as far as, is there government subsidies that get put in play? Is it, what kind of discounts are they looking at?
Yeah, we usually try to work internally because it's good for providers as well. I mean, there's social and environmental, and particularly social benefit in providing these low cost services to folks to hop onto their providers, right? So they have their own benefits through them as individuals, but really, I think that a lot of the time it's about working through. How do I phrase this? Yeah, I think they have their own skin in the game of making sure that people are getting access. So, I mean, working through them and actually doing that, there's also, like, through the providers themselves, there's also our subsidies through federal, state, local governments. There's actually some funding through the CARES Act and American Recoveries Act. Biden's one that went through a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember exactly the name, but there is funding, especially around digital access right now. Everyone's really understanding that, when they've had their kids at home for 12 months and, Timmy's screaming in the backyard with an iPad that does have the internet connection, they do have that computer, you can only imagine what it would be like to not have that, especially when it comes to education. And to your point, Alex, the people that don't have that are the people that are, lower income minorities. They're already on the wrong side of equality in a lot of ways. And the lack of digital access is just a big contributor to that. And if you can open up the largest information source in the world, which is the internet, which are through computers, there's a lot more opportunity for people that way.
Yeah. I know I've heard the stories even just in my own life. It's like you've got a neighbor, you've got friends who COVID hits and they're like, everybody's already got an iPad, right? And let's buy them a couple Chromebooks. And it's like no big deal for one family. And then we've got a neighbor who's a single mom, and it's just a struggle to be able to find enough device, even to at the beginning just to be able to get the device, and then to be able to afford the device is a whole nother topic. So there is a huge divide there. And I'm glad that you guys are doing something proactively to shrink that gap.
You'd be surprised, or maybe not, how many people share a single device between multiple households and through, entire complexes. There's kids that do exclusively homework on one neighbor's smartphone. It's been amazing the people that we've met over the years, and really thinking back to how I found Human IT was through volunteering. I went out to a distribution event, and they were giving 100 computers away in Huntington Park, I believe, at an elementary school on a Saturday morning. And there was 100 families and there was 100 computers to give away. So it'd kind of be a conveyor belt, not a conveyor belt, but an assembly line system. You'd go down, you get your monitor, you get your mouse. I was the keyboard guy. So I got to give the keyboards out to the kids, and this mom comes through. She's got a kid in one arm, tower in the other, barely hanging on to the monitor. And she's got this little 8-year-old girl with her. And I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. But I go down, I'm like, hey, honey, here you go. And I hand her the keyboard, and she grabs it like a teddy bear, and she holds it close, and she starts to kind of cry. And it's not a cry, it's a happy cry. And you don't see that out of little kids like that. And she started crying, and I knew what that meant for her in that moment. And I started crying because I could see, and I didn't care. Is this for talking to your friends, doing your homework, watching cartoons? I'm not here to judge or nor do I care. But the fact that I'm sitting here with my smartphone in my pocket, my smartwatch on my wrist, everything that I need at home, my laptop, my tablet, and just seeing how much it means for this kid to just get the most basic access is what she saw it as. It was, I became a volunteer that day, and I quit my job not there far after. And that was about 6 years ago.
That's amazing. I want to learn a little bit more, or at least tell the audience about how are you getting the computers? Where are they coming from? What partnerships do you have with certain companies or organizations to drive in the volume that you need to support the community?
Yeah, great question. So what's great about e-waste is that every company manufactures it. Every company has to get older, has to get the newer stuff in. So, my first donor was USC. We really started working with one school at USC, and before we knew it, we had, fight on, go Trojans.
Hold on, even better.
We had about 27 other schools. Hey, there you go. Yeah. Well, from there, UCLA found out, and we started talking to UCLA, and then we started talking to UCLA Health, and then Cedars-Sinai, and then Pepperdine, and then Red Bull, and then Live Nation, and then Mattel, and then Zillow. It's really just letting people know that you can get the same solution you're getting before as far as e-waste. We can come in at a very competitive, if not free price, because there's a lot of value in what you're giving us. Just give us these devices. We're going to give you everything you need as far as from an asset management, decommissioning, ITAD service standpoint. We'll bring it in. We're going to donate it out and give it a second life on your behalf. It's a tax write-off for you. And you get to kind of share that warm and fuzzy impact, with us. We're just the middlemen of helping those people out. But if you give us 100 devices, 100 laptops, let's call it, we want to give everything we can a second life and get it back out there. And that's something that you and your company can be very proud of.
And from what I understand, like when things come in, like a phone server or, routers and whatnot, there's certain things that a family is not going to know what to do with the phone server, or, a Cisco router, ATA or something like that. What do you do with that equipment that comes in, and how does that look as far as like selling it, refurbishing it? What do you guys do with that?
Yeah, so the devices, we say everything with a plug outside of appliances. So we don't want that old break room microwave. Nobody wants that break room microwave. So
Nobody does.
We'll take anything else. But everything that comes in, we do get the consumer grade stuff, the desktops and laptops. A lot of the time it is in one door, wipe, refurbish it, and out the other, right? But we do get the phone systems, access points, servers, switches. I can't take a switch and hand that to a veteran and pretend like that's going to help him or her, right? It's not. But what we'll do is we'll still bring it in. We'll still provide the same service, the tax deduction, the corporate grade data wiping that they're used to. And then we still want to give it a second life. So we'll resell those items to promote reuse, which is a revenue stream for us that essentially allows us to not charge our customers, typically not at all. And I would say currently over 90% of our donors don't pay a dime. And they're getting corporate grade wiping, itemized tax deductible receipts, even free pickup or logistics anywhere in the country, which is pretty great. But they're able to get those benefits, and then it's really about just giving those things, get them back out there.
That's incredible. Yeah. Talk about the waste. You mentioned a number here at the beginning. 150,000 computers per day.
So it's the largest growing waste stream on the planet. We hear a lot about plastic bags and straws and all that, and it's very true, very real problems. But it's e-waste is the largest growing waste stream. I mean, you imagine you know what we all go through, and pretty much everybody that's watching this video right now has an old cell phone or laptop in a drawer somewhere, and they're just not sure what to do with it, right? So we're trying to kind of show that we can get these things back out there. We can give them a second life. There's a ton of it out there, tons and tons. And what has classically happened, it was, call it 30 years ago, it was a lot of shredding and smelting and grinding these things down because there was a gold, platinum, silver in the machines for conductivity on the green board, right? And when really the housing market kind of had 08, 09 and commodities dropped, a lot of the recyclers went out of business because they were really reliant on more raw material, more grinding up to get more of that gold, platinum. And now that there's not as many materials in there and they're worth less, there's just nothing, they just went out of business, So that kind of turned into something where, and then I would say at the same time, the environmental aspect came around. It's like, well, we're just grinding this stuff up, pulling a little bit of gold, silver here local, like here domestically, and then it's being dumped in Southeast Asia or Africa. And if you want to YouTube it, it's pretty grim, as far as what they do, as far as just dumping truckloads and truckloads into communities where they'll pick through themselves, see what else they can salvage. They pour hydrofluoric acid on top to let the materials kind of to actually illuminate. And then that hydrofluoric acid goes right into the ground, right into the water supply, and poisons communities. And you can imagine what it'd be like crawling over a pile of sharp computers and metal and things like that. So it's awful, and you don't need to be destroying these things when they should and they could go on and be used again.
Right. So everything except for the office microwave. And if it's a router, we're not handing that out to a veteran. We're going to take that, wipe it once again, sell it off on the secondary market, and you guys retain those dollars and are able to make a bigger impact, even from that Cisco ATA or router or whatever it is.
Exactly. And that's what's great is we have a circular economy built into our nonprofit, which is what not a lot of nonprofits can say. Maybe a Goodwill would be a good example, actually. So we can create our own money. A lot of nonprofits out there, they're looking for foundations, they're looking for corporate giving, individual giving, they're looking for checks. And we love that as well. But it's not our only way. We can actually stretch that money a lot farther because we have a built-in service within our organization that allows us to make our own buck. So if we have revenue that helps us fund expansion, like we did into Detroit, less than a year ago now, we're able to go out there, really plant our roots. And we did establish a facility in the Focus Hope location of Detroit. And with some partners like GM and Quicken Loans, actually go out there. And now we're engaging their business community. It actually was just launched this week, called Empowering Digital to Detroit. And what we're trying to do is create a circular economy, create a green initiative that, again, takes in more business e-waste, wipes it, refurbishes it, gets it back out to the community, and then we're able to make money and sustain ourselves that way. So we're not just waiting on handouts. We can be sustainable on our own.
I love that. Yeah. And so tell us, I know Detroit's only a year old. You kind of got this two-part that we've discussed so far. Hey, let's lower the impact to the environment. Let's take these goods and give them off to people that need them and can shrink that digital divide. Tell us what you're doing out in Detroit, because I think that's like even bigger than kind of those two aspects right there, or maybe it's just kind of that next level up. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Detroit, it's actually the least digitally connected city, over 50,000 people as of last year. And actually it's my hometown. I was born there, go Red Wings. So it was really special to me to actually be able to work there and now every day. And now we have, I think up to about 30 employees there and a fully functioning, facility there where we're sending trucks out every single day to go pick up e-waste from partners. And we're working really closely with the city right now in the mayor's office, really because they saw the value in what we were doing in Southern California. We had that circular economy and that own revenue generation built in to where we weren't so dependent on funders to keep our lights on. we could really just, hey, give us that foundation and we'll grow and we'll sustain on our own. So Detroit's been a lot of fun. It's really going to be, mark my words, an example for the rest of the country of how sustainable digital inclusion and environmental can really come together in a city like that. And that is our goal. Is, you know, we work in every we have the ability to work in any city of the country. You know, so if it's 3 pallets of stuff on a dock in Miami, or if it's a server room uninstall in Seattle, we can get boots in the ground. We get shipping labels. We do freight. Whatever that is, we're shipping it to either Los Angeles or Detroit. But it's been great there to really work on helping provide digital access to the people, educate a lot, and really work around environmental standards, help with those internet connections, and get the businesses, you know, engaged in that. It's everyone's neighbors, it's everyone's friends, it's from everyone's church, it's our own community. And we are that singular community, you know, within that. So it is great to really just, again, I feel like we're just middlemen that have the great opportunity to just be able to connect. Hey, here's this surplus of e-waste out of business. Here's a community that don't have that yet. Let's turn one into the other, and they'll help each other out. Because that community, you know, even looking at like USC, for example, if I could take a USC computer and give it to a 10-year-old today that ends up getting a scholarship, I mean, that's my life's work. I mean, I'd hang it up I'd hang up my boots right there. I'd be so happy to see something like that happen. And that's the kind of impact that we're making. So those are the people that we're helping. And I imagine that we'll start to see some of that come around. We've already heard some great stories of things like that happening. So it's been fantastic.
I love the generational aspect of it, right? Where you look at that 10-year-old and you can get them a computer, and all of a sudden it gives them what they need to keep up or to push ahead, to be able to succeed in life and to, you know, have the equal opportunity as far as digitally is concerned. What always blew my mind, I guess, is this is a complete no-brainer in my book, right? Like if I'm getting rid of my couple laptops or whatever it is, send them to Human IT. What do you see? Are there any like objections you get from businesses that you're trying to get their e-waste from, to where they say, no, we're good, we're just gonna keep using our recycling company? Or like what are the reasons that someone would even give to like not work with you guys?
Yeah,
I'm just
great question, right? No,
there's
right?
no good answer.
Like, in sales, we get objections, right? Because we're trying to sell something, but this is like, it's good for the environment, it's good for the community. Who would keep doing it to
it? Doesn't cost you anything.
It doesn't cost you anything. I mean, it's like a win, triple win. It's a trifecta.
It is. Yeah. So, I mean, there really aren't a lot of objections. I think that people need to know that we are, I think when people look at a nonprofit, you know, they kind of have this conception of that you're a humble nonprofit. I'm going to show up in my Camry and try to load 1,000 computers in the back of it. Not going to happen. You know, but we walk the walk as far as, you know, standing toe in toe with some of the best ITAD providers in the country. So our data destruction methods, I mean, we do it for Cedars-Sinai Hospital, UCLA Health, you know, some of the biggest banks, law offices, and hospitals in the world that have vetted us, come in, walked our, you know, gotten the documentation, walked our warehouse, and really can trust on us on the data security standpoint.
Yeah.
That's always the first one, right? Is really data security. But the chain of custody, everything else that we do, the level of reporting, I mean, the fact that we give make, model, serial, item type, quantity for free for everything that we can reuse again, and we give them back, and all they got to do is put that little dollar amount for the write-off. And to the point, yeah, most of it's free for, I'd say, over 95% of our clients. You know, we do have charges for when it's, hey, I got a calculator in Death Valley. You know, I still need your services, but you know, you guys are probably going to lose some money on gas on this one. You know, we don't want to be able to say no. We want people to still have an option as far as making a good environmental and social decision. So that's why we'll kind of include those every once in a while. But no, not a lot of objections. It's just getting in front of the right people and awareness. So things like this of just letting people know that recycling is good for bottles and cans, but let's repurpose. Let's get these things back out there. And there's a big group of people you probably know, and just you don't know that how on the wrong side of the digital divide they are.
So who are the right people? Like, you know, so you already mentioned USC and UCLA, but pick another big school, East Coast school that you're not in yet. Who would you target in a university or in a Fortune like 500 company?
Yeah, typically, you know, what's again with how we target, there's not a lot of, I think education is actually really good because there's just a lot of devices.
Right.
Now you think about it, typically the more employee count, the higher the head count, the more devices those people have.
Mhm.
And then I guess B would be the better funded they are, the more refreshes they do, the more often they have new stuff, meaning the more often they have old stuff. So for us, we're really biased to like who they work or what they do, but the more employee count they have, the industry a little bit, like we work with a couple of animation companies out here in Southern California. So that helps too, because you can't quite make the latest greatest on a 5-year-old computer, but those older computers might work for somebody else.
Yeah, surfing the internet. Whether or not I can make a Pixar movie on my 5-year-old computer is a different question of whether or not I can hop on Zoom and be able to do my homework. Those are wildly different capabilities.
There's going to be some kid in South LA with a computer with an NVIDIA card, just like crushing the gaming scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's great.
And so would you talk to, who are like the key stakeholders on this decision? Is this decision made in a silo within IT? Is it the CIO, CTO who's like, hey, all of this stuff that comes back out the backside, I make the decisions on where we buy from, and then I also make the same decision on who we pass this off to? Is it a marketing play? I mean, I can see a lot of different people. Obviously, you get the right CEO involved, they would be game to push this over. But who is it within the organization that really you guys want to talk to?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because it really can go through anyone at an organization. So, I mean, you look at typically the decision makers, the people they work with that actually manage the assets, it's a lot of IT. Maybe not the CIO, CTO, but maybe a level 2 down, director, VP level. Those are the folks typically that, know what's happening around the refreshes, sometimes procurement gets involved a little bit, but IT are usually the people that we kind of end up at. But we could actually go through corporate social responsibility and marketing because they see like, hey, we want a green initiative this year. And we had, I think literally just yesterday, we announced initiatives with Broad Voice, City of Detroit, Pelican Products, Univision, and one more that's escaping me. But that was a pretty busy Earth Day for us, with all these alliances. But Pelican was a great one where it went through their CIO, Lance. Great guy. You know him, yeah. Great dude. Hey, Lance, if you're watching. That really just loved what we did. And we did tech drives too. So that's a novel thing that we'll do too, because this is something that actually the employees and the employer can kind of come together on. So if you work somewhere, you just, hey, bring in your unwanted technology, whether it's around now, whether it's around the holidays, America's Recycles Days in November, bring in that old smartphone, that old laptop, whatever. You're going to get that corporate grade wiping. It's a write-off for you. Warm and fuzzy feeling of helping people on the planet, right? But that's something that a lot of employers and employees get to celebrate together. And Pelican did that. We did an international initiative with them, actually. So we collected their technology, from all over, brought it in. I think we ended up actually with over 10 pallets, I believe, or it was over 10,000 pounds of electronic waste from them. Majority, believe it or not, from employees. And this is during COVID too. They were literally putting it in their cars, driving to their local office, dropping it off, and helping their equipment get back out there. So,
wow.
Marketing, HR from more of the employee involvement. Accounting loves write-offs. Why wouldn't they? Accounting is a good one. But one of my favorite stories is actually with Live Nation Entertainment, Ticketmaster, House of Blues. It was his Michael, their CEO. He actually went in and was looking for a computer for one of his kids. So he actually went into the office and saw the IT team kind of in the middle of a refresh and said, you guys have all those computers? And he's like, yeah. Well, how many other kids are like my kids that need this, especially with, this move to remote learning? And that really sparked me. He's like, hey, IT, I want you guys to find a nonprofit out there that can do all this for you, that could really help. Like, I want to start donating our stuff. And we actually cleared out 7 floors from their Hollywood office as far as taking in unwanted technology that they no longer needed. We worked on their Beverly Hills office in Nashville, across the country. But that was the spark in a CEO's eye that really saw this is our opportunity for our brand to do more and really, and do it in a way to where it's solving a business problem while also doing good in the community. Typically folks have to kind of trade one for another. If you want to help people, you're thinking you got to spend it. Or if you don't want to help people, that's the way you're going to get it for free. I'm just going to throw it in the back of my building. I hope you don't. That kind of thing. But that's where we can we're very, very competitive from a cost standpoint. We are helping people on the planet. And then there's that proactive brand enhancement of working together on that in the first place. And really, again, like celebrating the fact that our employees and our company came together to help all these people, to help the planet. It's really a holistic approach within an entire organization of really everybody kind of being able to be a part of that. And IT ends up kind of in the middle of that spoke of that wheel. And it's kind of funny because I think IT sometimes are looked at as the scapegoat or blamed a little bit, or I guess only when things are perfect in IT are things quiet, and are they doing their best job? Hey, this is working, that's working, nothing's down. But the minute something goes down, it's, everyone's cursing IT's name. And I think what's great about the people that I get to work with, it's like, hey, I can make you look good. I can make you look good and feel good. I'm going to save your department money. Your CEO is going to be stoked. Marketing is going to shout this from the hilltops. HR is going to engage your employees. Your employees are all going to be happy. Accounting is going to write it off. It really is something for everybody. And it's great to let IT, wear that Superman's cape, for a little bit and say, hey, like, look what I brought around. Look how our organization is looking good for our customers. And people want to work with, eco-friendly brands. People want to work with brands that do good in the community.
That's so true. And so in LA, how much square footage is your warehouse now, since you've moved from that probably a 2,000 square foot building when we first met?
It
to like,
wasn't
how big
that
is it now?
small, Alex.
It was 2,200 square feet.
22. Yeah, there was a restroom on the back. Hey.
Yeah.
No, there's a parking spot there. No. We just moved to a new facility, actually not too far from Commerce. We've kind of hopped around Commerce. It was really where we were born and raised in a lot of ways. I think the one that you saw before was about 2,000. Then we went to 20,000. And I think we're pushing 30,000 right now. Beautiful facility. We're really filling it up. We have 3 trucks that go out of there every single day, take about 11 pallets each. So obviously like those watermelon or pumpkin bins that you see at the grocery store, 33 of those just locally. That doesn't even speak to what we freight and ship in. So we're looking for, I would say in this current month, about 400 pallets just to Los Angeles this month. That doesn't account for Detroit. We also get drop-offs at our Long Beach location. We're kind of eyeing the rest of the country eventually too, really looking at Detroit and setting them as a flagship of what expansion could look like. We would really like to take this everywhere in the country and kind of be that goodwill of e-waste that allows for the community to give us the unwanted stuff and get it back to that same community to help provide digital access.
I love that expansion, and starting in LA is a great city, Southern California in general, just because it's so dense and there's so many businesses here. It's a great launching off point to now go to Detroit. Some point, I'm sure you're looking at Atlanta or New York, like these big cities that have a lot of e-waste, right? And every big city has their community of people that need the leg up and need that digital divide to, shorten that gap for sure. And I just love that Detroit's is on the map and that you guys are just rocking it out there.
Yeah, it really is something that, you can look at LA and then Detroit's kind of walking the walk as far as like, can you expand? Can you replicate? And we've, along with the mayor's office and some great partners, we're doing it. So digital inclusion is something that is needed everywhere, so we're able to work within those communities. A lot of them have funding for that nowadays too. You can imagine what it's like for kids not to have computers. I mean, that's the most obvious one to me. Seniors getting computers for the first time, it is multi-generational to your point, Alex. Like there are, seniors getting access, even just for telehealth. We've literally had he was also a veteran, but he was a senior and he said, you guys saved my life. I was able to talk to my pharmacist and talk to my doctor and do that remotely and actually get everybody on the same page. And without a computer, I couldn't have done it, and he actually brought in, his name's Art, great guy. Brought in over 20 other, ended up eventual recipients. So it was kind of one of those, hey, I'll bring in all my friends and family. I'll really shout this from the mountaintops. And that's what we're looking to do too. So, I mean, people want to help us. It's like, hey, if you can't supply e-waste, if you don't, and typically people can, just find out what your job is doing with it. We're also looking for people that we can help, so we're always looking to work with nonprofits, or directly with, kids on student lunch programs, lower in, certified low income programs for adults and families. So we're able to really work into those groups, and especially through nonprofits, I think is great because we can talk to the groups that know those recipient groups best, like veterans group. Like, I don't know, do you guys want 15 laptops for a loaner program? Do you want 25 desktops in a lab somewhere? Do you want a game, do you want a graphic design center? I mean, whatever that is, whatever helps that community, we're able to work with the people that know them best. So we're happy to just, again, be in the middle, like, hey, we'll take it in. It's my department, business development. Let's work with you to get your e-waste out of landfills, out of shredders, out of some guy just flipping it for a quick buck on eBay. Let's get it out back to the community. Oh, by the way, you're going to save some money. It's a write-off, all that good stuff. Yeah. But then getting it back out to the people that need it.
Sign me up. I'm ready.
So good. So I love the stories, and it's heartwarming, right? You talk about the little girl that hugged her keyboard, and the veteran that's able to save, help them save his life through telehealth. Like, what are some other big stories or, situations where it really stand out that really made an imprint on your heart there?
Yeah. And I joke. I mean, I don't even joke. I think I say it seriously at this point. I'm going to have a hard time ever leaving anything nonprofit. It's really changed who I am. And I mean that in such a big way because, I have a history. I've done projects with Nike and Columbia Sportswear and Jones Soda and Sony PlayStation, and got to travel the country doing it and loved it. But, it was really giving back and realizing that there's so many people that don't have anything, and that I take for granted every single day. So, I'm sorry, what was your question one more time?
No, just I love the stories. Like, what are the stories?
Yeah. Thank you. Because I have one. But that's I started getting into another one. So
don't worry, Brandon. It is Friday, so I'll get you some slack.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate that. One of the families I remember meeting too, and it was pre-COVID. I went over to their house and I had a laptop. Daughter had autism. Son actually had brain damage from a stray bullet. It was definitely in not the best area of LA here. And went to their house, I remember, and I walk in and the woman just greets me, come in, gives me a hug, come right in, explained that they didn't have water because they couldn't afford it, and they were actually using the neighbor's garden hose for everything from drinking water to putting it in the toilet tank to flush their toilets, right? She walks me through the house and, I kind of got a lot of light from the ceiling and there was a hole in the roof. They couldn't afford it. And it was literal cardboard stapled to the roof just to keep enough of the elements out. But this was in her son's room, with the disability. And that was heartbreaking to me. And she walks me into the living room and, instructs me to sit on the floor. And she lived across the street from elementary school. Like, okay, I'll sit on the floor. Sure. And to find out it's because of all the stray bullets that go through her neighborhood. And I look in the wall and sure enough, there's at least 20 bullet holes. And this is across the street from elementary school, right? So you can imagine what you can imagine what some of the other streets look like. But she's like, yeah, we sit on the floor here because if you start hearing pop and you hit the floor quick and you're quicker to the floor and you're closer to the floor and you're less likely to get hit while you're there. So they don't have a dining room table. There's no couch, but I was able to give her daughter a computer, and her daughter was, again, with a learning disability, in, I think, junior high, hopping on the city bus at 3:00, going an hour to the library, waiting in line for a computer. And then there's a little ticker in your computer that says that you only have so much time to do your homework. She'd skip dinner, hop on the bus in the dark and come home. And that was her Monday through Friday. And it's a couple $100 device that just changes that whole, that's one kid stops using it, it goes to the other kid. And then mom can hop on there and go apply, build a resume, apply for a job. Dad can hop on there and go do online education. You can imagine even just something as simple as YouTube, just the wealth of information behind that. Mm-hmm. But that's just one story from one family I met. And there are so many more out there, that need that digital access. And that's who we're out there fighting for, and again, that's why it'd be so hard for me to break and do anything else as long as there are people that, need this stuff. Especially when there's companies that are calling me, hey, I've got 1,000 laptops. Do you guys take those? Of course, people just aren't sure what to do with it. It's an IT.
Yeah.
It looks like an episode of Hoarders where it's just stuffed to the ceiling because they don't know what to do with it.
Totally.
And every company has it. They've got that room that nobody talks about, and it's just full of stuff that needs to get pulled out.
And it's got all their
Even
hard
while
drives
you're
are on
talking.
there.
Yeah.
Yep. They just don't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for
Right.
sure. So, yeah, I really did get like flashes of 3 people that we need to get you in touch with like immediately. Emails will be coming out after this podcast. So what is the process look like? I mean, like I'm ready to go. Obviously, you've spoken at our events before. We're in deep with human IT. For anybody watching, what is their next step? How can they get involved? Let's say we're, the CIO at a company is watching this. What does he do after this podcast here today?
Yeah, best thing, hop on the website, human-i-t.org, human-i-t.org. Check that out. They can also get in touch with me. I'll kind of leave my info too and tag me, Alex, please tag me. But the process is really easy. It's just let us know. We'll answer any questions that you have as far as data security. We really want to make sure that you feel comfortable with, this is your data. This is your employee files. This is social security numbers. This is your client information. Like that's the biggest thing for us is number one, data security. We can't help anybody if we're not wiping your drives and we're not managing chain of custody and things like that. That's got to come first, so we can't do what we do unless we're really satisfying business needs first. But as far as whether it's a first-time donor or repeat donor, hop on our website. There's a spot where you can say, hey, I'm just looking for information and we'll get in touch with you. We've got our number. You can call us at your convenience. Or if you're ready to go, there's actually a form on there that just says, what's your name? What do you got? Where's it coming from? How can I help you out? And essentially what they'll do is actually submit just more of the scope of work stuff. We'll respond within 1 business day. And a lot of the time it's just making sure we're covering all the bases for what you need. And then we'll determine logistics. Do you need white glove service where you need someone to uninstall these things or collect them from several floors, from several offices, what have you? Do you just need a couple shipping labels because they're in the corner of the room with a box? Are they on a dock somewhere? You've got, hey, I've got 6 pallets in my warehouse, Brandon. Can you get it? I'll get it the next day. And again, we'll typically cover all these logistical costs too. So it'll be, a great team that'll hop on again, usually same day, if not within the next business day, and just look to kind of get those items out of your way. I've met quite a few IT professionals that literally step over towers and monitors and devices on the way to their desk every morning. And it's like, well, just, hey, we'll take it off your hands. We'll give it a second life. The sooner we can get it out of your office and out there, the more practical application it has to be used by more people and for longer. And that's the whole point.
Absolutely amazing. I love it. And we love singing your praises. Human IT has been in our back pocket for our clients for as long as we've known you guys and trying to get the word out. And we've run into each other at different events, and it's absolutely cool. And just the fact that you're doing such good for the environment, but just the human piece, right? The human of the IT, and being able to help people in need is absolutely amazing. And you guys are ramping it up, you're expanding nationwide, and it's only going to get better from here. And so anything that we can do to help, to come to us. But we want to use this podcast to be able to hopefully broadcast it out and get people to learn about you guys. There's a lot of IT executives out there, and just executives in general, people in general that don't know that you're out there. So absolutely going to get the word out. But thanks again for jumping on the podcast and being able to share some of those stories and really, kind of where you guys are at.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, this is a lot of fun. I think the biggest thing that we always say is like, well, how can I help? I want to volunteer. I want to help. I don't have tech. How can I, just it's awareness. It's just let people know that there's options out there, and, come back. If you're not in IT, if you're in IT, find out where your stuff goes. And it's just as simple as just, hey, where does our e-waste go? What do we do with this stuff? Mm-hmm. Again, give us the opportunity to kind of lay out our offering, compare it with what you got. And, I think most people, like you said earlier, it's a win-win situation. It's going to help your brand look good. It's going to help your company look good. It's going to give you, it's going to make you look good and feel good. Mm-hmm. And it's going to give you a solution you need anyhow, and we're just grateful to kind of be a part of that. So, grateful for the opportunity to talk to you guys today and share what we do. And the more tech we take in, eventually the more people we can help. And that's the name of the game.
100%.
Wonderful.
Dustin, good to everybody.
Yeah, my pleasure. Brandon, great to see you again. Looking forward
Pleasure.
to our next Tuesday dinner.
We'll see you in the park soon.
In the park.
Yeah, exactly. We're back to
be on each end on the
restaurants, people.
seesaw.
We're back at
Full
restaurants.
circle. All right, boys.
Full
Talk to you
circle.
soon.
See ya.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Well, that wraps up the show for today. Thanks for joining, and don't forget to join us next week as we bring another guest in to talk about the trends around cloud contact center and customer experience. Also, you can find us at adleradvisors.com, LinkedIn, or your favorite podcast platform. We'll see you next week on another Cloud Podcast.